Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Grateful Futures here. Excited for this one. This is going to be the first advanced volume analysis video that we'll do together. Now, so far, we've just kind of outlined what is volume profile, how to set it up, and how it displays on a chart. But we haven't really broken down how to do some of the more advanced things that you can do with volume. So today, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to break into using delta a bit and then just different kinds of volume profile to break down some of the trades that we took today in the market on the S&P 500. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, just to show you what's on my chart here, let's just go ahead and do the replay. Let's start it, sometime in pre-market this morning. On the left-hand side, this is going to be an anchored volume profile that is anchored to way back in like February when we had the huge drop due to tariff announcements, and then we started to make our recovery. So this is going to be all of the volume profile of all of the levels that we've had since February. So, left-hand side is going to be long-term volume profile. And what I want to do as well to do a session volume profile. So I'm going to be using an anchored volume profile still, but we're going to anchor it to the beginning of the session. So to do that, let's go to our projection tools, anchored volume profile, and let's just go ahead and click over there so we can see that just this alone on the right-hand side, that's going to be the volume of everything just today. So another thing I want to show you guys have seen it a little bit before. This is my custom buy and sell volume exponential moving average. We'll go through where we use that today as well. And then below that, this one is going to be a cumulative volume delta. So this is a new thing that I want to go over today. Basically, it is going to be the difference between the bid and the ask volume. So more or less, it's how many people are hitting market orders for buy minus how many people are hitting market orders for sell. So you can extract a ton of good information from this one. You go to indicators over here, and it's cumulative volume delta right here. That'll show up on the bottom of your chart like this. And let's just go ahead and run the replay. But this is not a video about how to make long-term levels, but I do want to just remind you guys that we always need to think about which volume peak that we are in currently for your longer term volume profile. That would be this one right here. Let's go ahead and mark it out for you so you guys just can see that. Right here to right here is kind of where I would consider this the main peak that we're in right now. And a reminder, guys, the bottom of the peak is always going to be your bullish support, and the top of the peak is always going to be your bearish resistance area, where you'd be looking to take short trades from around the top and long trades from around the bottom. Whether it's your long-term profile or your short-term profile, ideally you want those to be in agreement with each other for the most the most obvious position. So that's just like a quick review. Now, I don't always mark off the bearish support areas, but I do always mark off the low volume nodes. So those are where you're going to be your traditional support is. And I always mark those off in an orange color. So that's going to be our low volume node of most relevance. And this one is going to be the most relevant low volume node in the current peak that we're at right now. This one is also a little bit of a low volume node, but I'm just going to mark off these top and bottom ones. I can see that there's already some support here and there's already some resistance up here. So let's go ahead and play the tape and see if we can see anything that is, you guys can kind of use from these new indicators. So I didn't trade anything today until 9:45 because we had a PMI data print at 9:45 then. I don't ever like to trade data. So, You can trade after data, just never taking a position before data to try to catch a swing. I don't think that's ever a good thing to do. So this is when the data came out. There was a big swing down. And what can we say about the volume profile at this time? Well, it's broken out of this big peak here for the long-term volume profile. And for the short term, the sessions volume profile, there is a low volume node right here. And there's also a low volume node right here. Perfect. Okay, so remember that the bottom of these is bullish support, the top of them is bearish resistance. Same thing for this newly formed peak down here. The bottom area of it is going to be bullish support, the top is bearish resistance. But I'm just kind of watching this right now to see if we can see anything that might be special that I could point out. And there is one kind of major thing here that's going to be a really good introduction to the delta. So you want to look at the overall price action and see, okay, is the average of that price significantly changing? For this period right here, we can see that although there were fluctuations, overall, if you had to draw an average line of that section right there, it'd be pretty much, not counting that big volume down, this part, it'd be pretty, flat more or less. And if we look at the cumulative delta, that is a clear uptrend, right? So that same spot right there, that is a clear uptrend. What does that mean? That means that even though price was shaking around, not really moving so much, overall, people were aggressively buying this. So that, what can we think about potential outcomes of that? One, if price does go down and keeps going down, maybe forms a new low down here, these people that bought might be underwater and they might sell their position and we might shoot down aggressively even more. The other thing is if this continues to go up, price continues to move up, then this could be an accumulation. So this could be big money buying into this, even though the price isn't going up, they are accumulating a position here. So I didn't take any position, just I was just watching that. That's something I noticed. Sellers did push down, Delta is pushing down. You can even see in the EMAs that buyers are decreasing, sellers are increasing, and the price does come down. It actually breaks our low volume node. It starts to create some new volume down here. Definitely don't want to just take this short. That's never a good thing. Huge risk, and especially with the bullish Delta divergence, we're just going to wait and see if we can see something that might be a good trade here. So price immediately rebounds, Delta rebounds. So buyers definitely stepped in and retested VWAP here, also the point of control of this volume node, and pushed up even more. Still no position here, just kind of waiting to see what happens. It hasn't really been a major change, but just kind of waiting to see maybe if it taps off of our bullish support area and then goes up, maybe we can think about going long. But price comes down. And you can see that even more so. So prices coming down here, the average of this from here to here is coming down, but the delta is increasing even more. So price coming down, delta's increasing. Overall, this price is coming down and it's brought up, it's coming down again, but there are a bunch of people willing to buy this aggressively right now. So it is pretty obvious to me that there is some bullish pressure here. Again, if it just gets wrecked with sells, it's going to be even faster to go down because there's all these people underwater. But this starts to look to me like there is a lots of buying pressure here at this moment in time. We're also right at our bullish support area of this peak right here. I'm just going to go ahead and just draw that out so you guys can see it. One second here. Okay, and then let's just, for the sake of it, let's go ahead and draw out our bearish resistance area right here, which would be the top of this high volume node. So, still no position, waiting to see what happens. Price comes down even more, delta's ripping up even further. And now we do get a step up off of this low volume node. Let's adjust this area of the low volume node because we made a little bit more volume there. Now we're looking at that for our low volume node. And okay, price dips back down hard, pulls up, and delta is even more pumping up. So this is right now we've pushed up above VWAP. Uh, this is definitely, in my opinion, got some serious momentum. On the EMAs, sellers are decreasing, buyers are starting to step in, but this was the overall, the thing that started to get me to think way back from the open that there was buying pressure here on the S&P 500. So this was my first trade of the day. Took a long position right here. I had a decently tight stop. I think I kept it down here closer to under VWAP somewhere, or I think underneath this candle right here. And now what are our targets? So our targets are one going to be the bearish resistance area of this peak that we're in currently. That's where I'm taking a little bit off the top. And then where else is probably going to be right under the bearish resistance area of the long-term node that we're in currently. If it gets through that, it might test these naked point of controls up here from a few days ago. As we've discussed, price does like to test those. That's more for like a 15-minute long-term analysis video, but I just wanted you to see that, those are the potential targets there from this move. So let's go ahead and run the tape. Pushes up super aggressively. Delta's confirming a higher move. Now we have let's see if we can mark off any new low volume nodes. This one is our low volume node. That's still a low volume node. This is kind of a low volume node as well. And we can even see that price pretty much tapped perfectly off of our low volume node areas. So I always mark those off orange. So you can see price came, and it's kind of hard to see with the trade there, but we have a bullish hammer right onto our low volume node. Price pushed up, and now we're above this low volume node. Excellent, excellent for a bullish move there. And let's just see if we can get up there. That would be awesome. Maybe I'll probably put a little bit lower just because the bearish resistance area of this long-term node starts on the descent of where the top part of the node is. So let's see if we can see we still have good bullish divergence. Sellers starting to come in a little bit, buyers starting to fall off just a little bit there. But they are supported at this low volume node. At this point, I would move my stop up to under that low volume node in profit, and we can see where this goes. Again, still supporting that low volume node. And you can kind of think about each one of these peaks as its own peak, right? So this is a peak here, of which this is our bullish support area. This is our bearish resistance area, maybe even down a little bit further. This is also its own peak, of which this is our bullish support zone. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do it exactly how I would for trading. This is our bearish resistance zone. And you want to see price breaking through the low volume node, retesting that new bullish support of the volume that's being created above it. And that's what that's what you see on the volume profile as a breakout. So that's really, really good there. It's broken through this low volume node, starting to create more volume up there. And at this point, so let me move this over a little bit. I think I exited my whole position here. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So this was the first trade that I had was over 3 risk to reward ratio. great trade. You could see the bullish divergence from the start of the day, and buyers were just buying this thing up the whole time. Even though there were some dips, this was super bullish in the morning. And it came right up to our long-term low volume node. That is, definitely don't want to be holding the trade longer than that unless you're just, just you don't really care. You're hoping for a super long win and you're trailing your stop. That's fine. Some people do that. But you can see that with this being its own volume node now, it's kind of moved to here. And this being a long-term high volume node, that you do have a bearish resistance area that's confirming on the sessions volume profile as well as the long-term volume profile, this area here. So I would definitely expect there to be a pullback, especially since, look, the price is going up, but our delta is flat. So that's a little bit of delta divergence there as well. You want it to agree with the price action. So I would expect a reversal here, and you do get some sellers start to come into the party. Price picks back up a little bit. It tries to break out again, but ultimately sellers are taking over here. And that was the first trade of the day. Great trade, huge win. Now we're just trying to see what's happening next. Where does it stop? Do we make a higher low? And it breaks through this low volume node here. Again, I don't always draw the red and green bullish reversal and bearish, bearish resistance areas. I usually just draw the low volume nodes so you guys can see them. But that's, if that's something that works for you, then go ahead and do whatever works for you. But I mark off the low volume nodes because I know if it supports the top of it, we're in the bullish support area. And I know if it resists the bottom of it, we're in the bearish resistance of this. And you can do that for each one of those. So price comes down to test VWAP. This could be a potential bounce location. It comes and has some resistance at this low volume node. It actually breaks through, so could potentially maybe support the top of this and keep going up. I did not enter this trade because, look, the delta is negative and price is going up. So I don't love that. I'm not going to enter a trade if it's against the delta. And you do have it come down a little bit there as well. And it does kind of just float around this area. You do start to get a little bit of pickup in the delta, not much though. So I definitely did not take this trade. Gonna erase these for just ease of seeing it here. But buyers are starting to come in a little bit. Sellers are starting to fall off. Let's go ahead and play it. We do actually get it come up a little bit, but it is shot down by this reversal area. Now we have a new low volume node. So let's go ahead and mark that off. And just trying to see where is it supported. It's nice that it's making a higher low, but for a real uptrend, I would like to see some more positive delta, kind of like that, or at least it agree with what the candles look like. So still no position whatsoever here, and it actually breaks down to VWAP and under VWAP, and this is supported by the delta, right? This is getting larger and larger negative delta bars. We have larger and larger negative price action bars, so that makes sense. That is, that's what I would expect for that delta. And we actually get a pretty heavy red move there. And it comes back to test VWAP. Now, this is the area where I do want to just kind of draw these out for you guys. So this is the bearish resistance area of this peak right here. And let's just make that have a little bit of a white border. And this is going to be our bullish support area of this peak. All right, so it's bouncing off that bullish support area of this peak, and it's testing this bearish resistance area of this peak, and it pops up really hard. I did not take this position whatsoever. And then you can also think of, this whole peak as a peak. Let's just extend this over just so you guys can see. but everything makes sense for Delta. Everything is, its price is coming down, Delta's going down, bounces off VWAP here. And this is the next area where I started to say, whoa, we something might be happening here. As it pops into the bearish resistance area of this larger peak, Delta is unchanged. So we have increase in price, Delta is staying flat. That is starting to signal to me that price is moving up, but there's, sellers are just as aggressive as buyers here. So price is moving up, but sellers are pretty aggressive here. It's not what I would expect for a true up move. That means they're selling into this pop. So right here, it rejects that low volume node. It pumps up a bit higher. And remember, this whole peak, this entire peak, or you could think about the whole thing all as one, has on the top of it is always the bearish resistance area. And can we see that it rejects? If it rejects, we start to get pretty heavy sell volume like this, pretty hard down there, coming right out of that bearish resistance area. The delta has been decreasing this whole time and price has been increasing this whole time. That immediately to me was okay, I'm going to try a short position here. And because we're above VWAP, I would only scalp, with the first target in mind being VWAP. That's where I'll take off a little bit of my position, probably most of my position. You don't want to hold a position too long that's short above volume weighted average price. And you don't want to, conversely, you don't want to go long, you don't want to hold a position too long, probably not so much past VWAP if the price is currently below VWAP. So this was my ideal position right here. I set my stop above this low volume node. My profit target's VWAP. Depending on how strong I feel it is, maybe I'll hold it a little bit longer, but this was the original idea here for this trade. And playing it out, it pumps right down right below VWAP and we're able to exit. The next, I did hold a little bit of this position to the point of control of the day, but that is your primary trade that I would like to see you guys pick up on that delta of it being, against the price action and waiting for that volume to start coming through. That was the second trade of the day. And I'm gonna kind of just push through this a little bit because we're about to get into the next topic that I wanted to show you guys. When you have and I'm going to clear this out as well. When you have a pretty smooth move, whether it's from here to here, you find your, defined pivot points, you can do a fixed range volume profile on just that specific uptrend or downtrend. So if I want to just have the volume profile of this, that will give me, valuable information about those zones just specifically in this move. And what does it look like? It's a lowercase b. So that is kind of analogous to a bear flag, right? You have a fast moving, down, succession of candles. It's going to be largely sell volume. You can see that in red right there. And then you have a consolidation period at the bottom of the range that ends up looking like this B. And you can take this, every single volume profile peak, doesn't matter what time that you're looking on, has the same rules. The top of that specific peak is going to be bearish resistance, and the bottom of that peak is going to be bullish support. So roughly around right here for now. And it may develop. These things are things that develop as the volume comes in. So you got to always be updating them, look and see if there's any changes. But for right now, I know that those are the two zones that I should be looking at. And and also the bottom of this peak is supported by the sessions volume profile. So that will probably make that a little bit more stiff as a support. And then also this downtrend is mainly sell volume. So that's a bit of a supply zone as well that I think will buffer up the top of this range. So I would expect it to, go through this a little bit until it's broken. But let's see what happens here. So the bottom is supported, the top is resisted. And with the fixed range volume profile, you do have to keep pulling it out. And you can see that this range is growing in volume. And you can, if you want, sometimes people will scalp between them, but I don't like to do that. If it's a specific move like this, I'll wait for like a break and retest, which we'll see here in a second. But this is just like that typical bull flag that you can see with the volume profile, or sorry, bear flag that you can see with the volume profile. So what am I expecting out of this move? I would want to see it break the zone, have it break and retest. I'm also going to clean this up to previous zone for just for ease of you guys seeing what's going on here. But the other thing I can say is that with the delta, on this uptrend, it's remaining pretty flat. So I'd consider that some divergence in the delta as well. Not enough for me to enter a position within the range that it's in, but maybe that's going to be telling me a little bit something that it may end up going down because more people are selling here, even on the uptrends. More people are selling into this consolidation than are buying. They're more aggressive selling. And let's go ahead and just drag that out as our bullish reversal area of this peak. Just kind of keep going here, and it's just kind of chopping around the point of control of the day. That's expected, right? The point of control is the highest amount of traded shares of the day. Buyers and sellers are happiest to kind of make transactions around this area. So you would expect it to chop here. Now, price does try to break out at VWAP, but it's immediately rejected. And very, very important that you guys don't just enter a short here because that is, your risk is very, very large from the previous peak. So you always want to wait for a retest, right? And where are you looking for that retest to happen? You'd ideally look to have it happen at this low volume node where you can say, okay, so technically, right, it's forming a new volume node down here. That means the top of it is bearish resistance. I want to see it retest that zone, make a new low, and I want the delta to kind of confirm that. And another thing that I really didn't like was that this huge red candles here, it wasn't that much down of a delta here. So, even here was higher, here's lower, and here's higher. So I wasn't immediately entering this. I'd need to see the delta confirm before actually entering this position. And it does pop up. It does retest this area a little bit, but not enough for me to just, actually take a position here. And it does pop up back into the point of control of the day. So we're kind of back into this bear flag area. Now it does end up coming back down to retest it. Sometimes it's just not ready. And we do get a breakdown. So we're back to the same rules here, still looking for a retest of this and a fail, and for delta to confirm the actual move if it is going to be a legitimate move. So in this case, look, delta is now starting to push down. I think this is way more conducive of a legitimate push down. And we did have yesterday's low down here, which is always a really good target. So this was the next position that I took throughout the day. I shorted right here with my stop loss pretty tight because we're kind of at lows of the day. I'm already in profit. I don't really want to, risk all that much. And when it's pushing into a new volume area, I'll always sell at 1 to 1.5 risk reward, and then I'll trail the rest behind the 9 EMA. So let's see if we can see the delta, confirm. bam, huge red delta, huge red candle, selling volume is coming in. This is all good news for us. It comes up to retest this 9 EMA. And one thing I do want to show you guys as well, this is also important. So when it does break out of this volume node, the large volume node or any volume node into open space for the day, a new volume node will be created. So you think of all of these exactly the same. Nothing is different about any volume node. The height of the volume node, does kind of matter, but they're all exactly the same, right? Low volume nodes, you mark them off, and the top of the volume node is bearish resistance. You can see that when it broke down, it came and tested that bearish resistance here, fell, and then it came back up. That consolidation volume forms this new volume profile node to which it tests the low volume node, which is, if it falls out of it, that's the bearish resistance area of the new volume peak, and it should keep going down. So it does end up, keep failing here. I do believe I took off a little bit of profit there, and it does break down. I was still holding a bit, hoping that we'd get to yesterday's lows, but we ended up having a bit of a reversal through here. When this broke the 9 EMA, I was out the rest of my position. It's all right. It's still a win. And trying to see, okay, those support zones that we formed, are they going to hold or are they going to break? And you can start to look at your volume profile as those sections of bullish support, bearish resistance, bullish support, and so on to see how respectful price is of these areas. But no matter what, it usually does have some kind of stiffness at those low volume nodes. That's something that you can expect. Those are those traditional support areas. So I'm going to go ahead and just get some of this off the chart so you guys can see it. But it was a pretty stiff rally back to the point of control of the day. So that was not really something I saw via the delta. Maybe right here you do have like a little bit of consolidation, which is pretty flat, and this delta is pumping up. But I was still in a short position, so I didn't really see this coming. So I was just stopped out at the 9 EMA, and it began to run here. And we got a pretty aggressive uptrend all the way up to the VWAP and broke through VWAP a little bit. Same thing we did back here. We can go ahead and take a fixed range volume profile for just this up move and see, okay, what does this volume profile look like now? So I'm going to go ahead and keep playing it a little bit. And now, right now, it looks like a thin volume profile. And if we pull it out a little more, it starts to be a capital P. Just like the other volume profile over here was analogous to a bear flag, this is analogous to a bull flag, right? You have a swift move up, usually by volume, and then a consolidation phase at the top. That means that just like before, the bottom of this area is going to be our support, and the top of it is going to be our resistance. Okay, and I'm just gonna, you guys get the point of this. I just want you guys to see how to use Delta and some of these other volume profile tools to go ahead and make some advanced analysis throughout the day. But here's another area where I also saw a little bit of divergence. This area is flat while the delta was pushing up a little bit. So I had some bullish tendencies here. And then also, remember, we're back into our high volume peak of the day. So the bottom of this volume peak is going to be our bullish support, and the top of it is going to be our bearish resistance. Okay, so right, we have our current bull flag volume right here with its own support and resistance, as well as the day's volume profile peak with its support and resistance. So that's kind of what keeps these things ranging. I don't like to trade this, especially right at VWAP, right at the point of control. At the point of control, again, you're going to be the most choppy because that's where buyers and sellers are most happy to transact. So just kind of waiting here to see if we can see anything else for you guys. We have price dip down into our bullish support area of the day's peak. Again, I don't just take an immediate position here. It may have worked out if you scalped it up to VWAP, but I'm already in profit, so I am going to just kind of sit back and sit on my hands and wait for something perfect. However, I did see this come down here. It tapped again off of this bullish support area, a higher low. I saw Delta start to swing in up pretty heavily. There is, again, buyers coming in, sellers falling off. So this is a good place to enter here if you want to enter here. If you've already seen what you've seen before and made some trades, don't have to trade here whatsoever, but this is another area where we can see that buyers are probably taking over because of the support of the double bottom, the support in that area of the peak that you know is going to be bullish. And again, you only really want to scalp this to VWAP. If you feel like it's supporting, with Delta, you could take it up to the top area of this bearish resistance. And let's just go ahead and show you guys what happened here. And that was another successful trade there. So hope you guys got some information from this video, but it's really just the angles of the delta. If delta is confirming what the candles are doing, then you can start to look at taking a trade in that direction. It's not perfect. Sometimes you will get it to where sellers are pushing down and prices, staying flat. And if it pops up, sometimes they're caught on the opposite side. But generally, you can start to see these small discrepancies between delta and the price action, and it is a legitimate turning point in the price. We'll go through some other more advanced topics as well, but these are pretty much almost everything I wanted to talk about in one video on how to use these different volume tools to your guys' advantage. So if you have any questions, feel free to join my Discord. I have the link in the video. I'd be happy to help you guys out. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. But happy trading and be easy.